What's going on? This is Tim Foreman of Switchfoot, and you are at Popularity.
Working on tracks, are you ever surprised at how good they become? Did any surprise you with this album?
That's a great question. I think the journey of a song when you're recording can take surprising turns, and sometimes songs will surprise you either as how difficult they are to convey on a record, and other ones kind of rise to the surface. I think when you're recording, you have to approach them with a different take than necessarily how you would do them live. With this record, we actually tried to really capture the live experience, which can be a difficult, elusive one. But we approached it from the standpoint of, which tracks are they going to replace live? How can we make them, great moments in the live set? And it was a really fun way to approach it. And I think because of that, it's a really fun record to play live. This tour's been a blast.
Speaking of the live show, when you first decided that you were going to go out on tour, what was the thought processes around this time around for like what songs you play and when, and what's just the whole thought process of kind of what you want to portray at your show?
Yeah, well, the set list is for us a really interesting one because we do a different set list every night. There's not a lot of bands that do that. It drives our lighting guy nuts, because he's constantly having to scramble. Even during the show, we scrap the set list 9 times out of 10 and make it up on the spot, because for us, the live show is only half, maybe less than half is what we're doing, and the other half is the audience. And so we're constantly reacting to that, it's a back and forth dialogue. So we need to be able to spur of the moment, change it up, and put songs in that we didn't think we needed to play, and that sort of thing.
Can you talk a bit about some of the highs and the lows that you went through during the creation process for the album?
Yeah, this album we were very focused. We were coming off the heels of Hell of a Hurricane, where we recorded close to 100 songs, and it took a long time kind of figuring out who we were, redefining the identity of the band, and the type of record we wanted to make. And out of that process, we were kind of writing from a place of strength, where we knew exactly who we were and exactly the album that we wanted to make. So it was actually a really streamlined process and a really positive one, in that we were able to go straight towards our goals. The goals we set were to make a really rhythmic record and kind of build it from the drums and bass up. And I think we were able to go right after it.
After being a band for so long and so many albums later, do you guys kind of have it down to science? Like, does making music ever get easier?
That's a good question. I think for each record we try and come up with a different process of working, because you don't want to just, like water runs to the same streams. As a band, you can fall into that cycle of like, well, this is what we did last time, or this is what feels natural. And to kind of combat that, we try and come up with a different method of working. For instance, with this record, starting with the rhythm section and building the songs out of a vibe more than writing the song and then trying to put it into a vibe, And I think, for each record, it is different in that respect. You almost try and trick yourself, switch instruments, try and find ways of handcuffing yourself so that you're forced to come up with new ideas.
What would you say are a couple of your personal highlights from the album?
I think Vice Verses is a song that from the very beginning really captured me. It's actually a song that almost didn't make the record, which is kind of funny because it's the title track. But it was kind of elusive in that we were trying to capture the delicacy of the song. And the first time we heard it was just John on an acoustic guitar. And so to try and capture that on the record took a little bit of work, and to try and keep it cohesive with the rest of the album. And I'm really proud of how that came out. Everyone really contributed something different with that one than you would typically expect. Drew didn't play guitar, but he was filtering John's vocals as he was singing them. And there's not a lot of bass on there, but it becomes part of the acoustic guitar track. And what Jerome did on the piano and Chad on the drums, it's all different and very subtle than you would expect from a Switchfoot song.
Now, with all the success that you've achieved, have you noticed that you look at life any differently?
Um, it's funny because in some ways, we still feel like we're a young band, and we still have a lot of goals, so it doesn't feel like, winning a Grammy or things like that. Those aren't, it doesn't feel like success. To me, success feels like looking out in the audience and feeling like you're connecting. Playing a song and having someone else sing it back with the same emotion that we're singing it. That feels successful. That's what we set out to accomplish. So whether there's 10 people in the room or 10,000 people in the room, that kind of doesn't matter. I think the goal is to be connecting, and that's always been the goal. And I think moving forward, that still really excites us.
Is there anything that you never thought you'd pull off but did on the album?
Selling the News. That's a song that's been around for a couple albums, and it's kind of a spoken words, almost hip hop kind of vocal. And my comment the first time I heard it was, well, if we can make this our own, then it's not going to sound like anything that anyone's ever heard. It definitely was a square peg in a round hole. But the idea is that, well, let's chase those songs down. You might fail, but if you succeed, it's going to really sound different and stand out.
What decides for you guys at the time is right to go in and record a new album?
We're always writing. We don't really compartmentalize touring and writing, because for us, writing is something that naturally is reacting to the life that we're living, what we're experiencing, the highs and lows. Something great happens, something terrible happens. Songwriting is just our way of kind of dealing with it. And as far as when the next record's released, I think we're pretty sensitive to not overwhelming people with too many songs. We have probably 200 songs that people have never heard, and some of them are our favorites, but they have to belong together. So I think we look at, when we have a collection of 10 or 12 songs that feel like a cohesive family, that are telling one story, then it's time to put it out.
Can you compare your career now to when it first started? Is there a difference in the way that you approach your music?
I think we're more intentional about the subject matter that we're writing about. When we started, I was in high school, we were all teenagers, and writing about what was important to us then, hopefully it would be different than what it is now. We've experienced a lot, we've traveled the world, we've seen a lot of things that have surprised us, and hopefully all that goes into maturing the subject matter that we're writing about, and being aware that there are people that actually are listening to what we have to say. We don't take ourselves too seriously, but we do take the idea that music can be a catalyst for change. We take that seriously, and we want to be leaving the world a better place than we found it.
Looking back at the album now that it's been out for a little bit, are you still just as satisfied?
I'm really proud of this record. I think, from a sonic perspective, which is something that I really geek out about, the recording process and what mics and all of that, the science of it, I love that. And I think it's our best sounding record we've ever made. And I'm really proud of the fact that these songs translate so well to the live experience. And I think with each record you're kind of looking for a way to build a new room onto the house, where it still feels attached to the house that you've built for the last 7 records, but it's a new addition that brings something unique to the house. And I think probably more than any other record, we really did that, and we gave ourselves new places to go as a band.
What makes a good song?
For me, honesty is the number one ingredient. If it's not honest, you're not going to want to sing it every night for the next couple of years. These songs all are very meaningful to us, and that's been something from the beginning that's been important to us. It's a really great thing to be able to look back at some of the songs that we've played thousands of times, like Dare You to Move or Meant to Live, and to realize that they mean more to us now than they did when we wrote them. Because I think a common gripe amongst bands that have success is that the songs that they played, their hit songs, are the ones that they hate playing every night. And so it's really meaningful to feel like those songs still have meaning to us. And
do you kind of feel that the more you play them, the more the songs grow?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that you take these songs around the world, and suddenly the song that you wrote at 2 a.m. in your bedroom trying to figure out life, the meaning of it has grown because you've played it in Japan, and you've seen people singing along that don't even speak the same language, and you've read notes from fans that have told you that song, whether it's keeping them from suicide or whatever it is, there's heavy stories that we hear night after night, and that is very humbling, and it's the highest honor to feel like these songs go out and have lives of their own.
Creating music is like organizing an accident. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's pretty accurate. I'm continually surprised at the band dynamic. You've got, in our case, 5 people with very different ideas, very dynamic personalities, strong ideas, and somehow it all makes its way into one cohesive statement. I can't describe how it happens, because just to say that sounds kind of bizarre, and I'm constantly intrigued by how other bands do it, because for us it's really hard to unpack and figure out how it works. How do other bands gather and convey those ideas? I'm not sure. For us, it's a continual back and forth kind of wrestling match, because everyone's passionate about their ideas, and in the end we have a lot of respect for each other, and I think that's what holds us together.
What about this one? Good music is like an onion because it has many layers to it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's true of art. I love that 2 people can look at the same painting and get radically different meaning from it, and absolutely the same is true for music. We often say that the meanings that we have for songs aren't the end-all be-all meanings, that someone else can come up to us at the end of a show and tell us what a song means to them, and their opinion is just as valid as ours, and even within the band we'll have sometimes 5 different pictures in our head of what a song is about, and I love that.
Would you rather not actually tell people what a song is about to you and just leave it up to them?
Yeah, there's I can't remember who said it, but I think it was a comedian that said, if my dog's not going to bark, I'm not going to bark for it, and there is something to that, if someone doesn't get the joke, you kind of don't want to explain it to them. If someone doesn't get the song, maybe it's not a good song, or maybe it's just not for them, I think part of being in a band is the idea that you have to be okay with the fact that some people are going to hate your music, some people are going to love it, some people are going to be indifferent. You can't try and make music for everybody, because then it just comes out being very vanilla and bland. And I think, the idea is, if we love it, if we truly love it, someone else is going to love it too. But you can't write it from the perspective of, I hope someone else likes it, because then you're chasing ghosts.
And any final thoughts, anything to say to the Regents of Popularity?
We have kind of a band motto, life is short, live it well. And that's something that we try and pour into these songs.